Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly-ish recap of all things Seattle hockey and beyond. I am Matt.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Derek. And we are again without Heather this week. Heather. I also wanted to give her the Shane Wright treatment as she is becoming an absolute superstar. We miss you so much on the podcast here at Beneath the Waves, but you are absolutely crushing it for the hockey news. I know all three of us here are very excited for PWHL Seattle to start, and Heather's content so far has been 2 interviews that she conducted one-on-one with PWHL players, the first being with this year's third-round draft pick, Lily Delianidis, and the most recent one being with the veteran player, Natalie Snodgrass. Both are great, both are amazing, and I recommend checking them out, even if you are mainly just a Kraken fan. Especially in the Snodgrass interview, there are several things that give you a closer look into how professional hockey players look at things. It's so refreshing, actually, in comparison to what we usually get out of any NHL player in an intermission interview, where they remind us for the 10 millionth time that the key to success is what? Getting pucks deep. Getting pucks deep. I also just feel, and I don't know why this is, but maybe it's because it's a smaller league, but just that the players, or at least Natalie Snodgrass so far, it just feels like they're so much more comfortable being themselves. And I wanted to share a quote with from the most recent interview that Heather did. And this is a quote from Natalie Snodgrass. "I can't say enough good things about Kayla Barnes too. She's just such a cutie that I can't wait to be on the same team again too." So please, everyone listening to this, please go check out Heather's articles and support her. She is putting in so much work right now to bring all hockey fans amazing coverage of an amazing brand new team that we should all get invested in. And again, Heather will be here soon on Beneath the Waves, so do not worry to share with you personally all of the great stuff she's been working on behind the scenes. A teaser of what's to come is that our own Heather spoke with head coach Steve O'Rourke and maybe some players you've heard of, such as Kayla Barnes, the cutie, Jenna Buglioni, and one Hillary Knight. So stay tuned this upcoming month.
Awesome. Yeah, we are super pumped. We're going to have her latest interview with Natalie in the show notes. You can go check it out there as well as on our Twitter feed. We always make sure to shout out her things there. So keep on knocking it out, Heather. You were doing awesome. But for the BTW boys here, it is episode 35 of the BTW pod, and it's been a little while since we've hung out, and we have quite a few things to chat about since we last sat together about 3-ish weeks ago. We have some big RFA progress. We have a new schedule that was released, and there's a new collective bargaining agreement. I know we all get excited about those legal bargaining agreement things, but on what we're going to break down there's actually some exciting developments for the Seattle Kraken that can come out of it. So let's start off with those RFA updates. 2 of our 3 RFAs have now signed extensions with the Kraken. First up was Tye Kartye, who signed a 2-year, $1.25 million AAV deal on July 5th. What were our reactions when this announcement dropped, and how are we feeling about having Karts back on here for 2 years?
So I really like it. I know Derek would be like, oh, I don't want to see carts. I'm done with carts. I like him. I think he's going to be that solid fourth line player for the Kraken this year, and I think he's actually going to get a chance. Was shocked that it was a 2-year deal, and I was shocked he got over $1 million for what he's produced over the last couple of years. But I definitely think that management might see something there. So it's not much. You're going to get him for basically nothing with the cap continually rising over the next couple of seasons. So I think it's a home run. It's simple, it's sweet, and local Kingston boy. So I got to rep him. So but no, I'm excited for it. It's one of those moves that you definitely need, either if he's on the fourth line or kind of fighting for that fourth line spot. Yeah, he's going to be one of those guys, and he knows how to be gritty, and we need those guys on the team.
Yeah, I just want to say that's one, if you've listened before, that's one very expensive bag of all dress chips, $1.25 million per year. I said that's what we should pay for Tye Kartye. But all joking aside, now that he is back on the Kraken for sure, I'm going to drop, all my Cartier slander because I'm going to cheer for our guys, obviously. And I think you said it great, Alex. He hasn't really shown that he can do much so far outside of like sort of like that gritty role. I do think with the cap going up and with, we're going to talk about it later, but with the league expecting the revenue to go up, that 1.25 isn't horrible. I really like this deal. If Cartier is able to evolve a little bit, I think it'll be amazing, obviously. But even with Cartier's current state on the team, I'm completely fine with this deal. I think it's perfect.
So I'm like excited for our guys anytime they get a payday and they get a little bump. Good for them. Get a little extra money in the bag. My downer for this is, on our last one, which seems like forever ago, I talked about how hopeful I was that Berkeley Catton would get big league time this year, and I think Tye Kartye coming in kind of limits that spot when you look at different places, giving their like projected lineups and stuff like that. Maybe it'll be a situation where there's some juggling happening, but like we talked about before, you can't stick Berkeley down in Coachella Valley this season, so it's WHL or NHL for him. And yeah, maybe this year like it'll click for Carts because he's got that 6 figure or 7 figure, pardon me, payday coming in now. We'll see. Next up, on July 22nd, we got the extension that we were all very eagerly waiting for. Earlier that morning, word came out that Kaapo Kakko would be having an arbitration hearing on July 25th. Lucky for us, arbitration was not needed as we learned in the afternoon that KK signed a 3-year deal with an AAV of $4.525 million. I think this is the exact kind of deal that all three of us were hoping for. And the last time we all talked about the free agencies and how they were going to shake out. So how are we feeling now that the ink is on the paper?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it. I think all three of us are pretty happy with this. It's, in my opinion, it's like exactly what I had kind of in my head, and I think it's exactly what Alex was saying, exactly what you were saying, exactly what Heather was saying too. And like really, when they said that it was going to go to arbitration, I was kind of worried because not that it would go to arbitration, but just thought Kakko's agent had some ridiculous number that they were looking for. But I mean, if this is it, then that's great.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with this contract. You avoid arbitration, and you never know what you're going to expect coming into arbitration, especially when you leave arbitration. So, the fact that you're able to make a deal, 3 years at 4.525, I'm happy. I was $25,000 off from my initial projections, so uh, earn those. You earn those 25K there. But no, it's a great deal. It's really going to help. Matty Beniers, I believe, because once the Kraken acquired Kakko, Matty Beniers' production really escalated and increased with him on his wing. So I think that's something that the two of them can continue to work on, and hopefully we see production not just from Kakko but also from Beniers.
Yeah, to steal a line from the hit musical Hamilton, like I want to be in the room where it happened. I want to see
Oh
what
my
the inner.
God,
Oh, you like that, didn't you?
right to my heart.
I know that's just for you, baby. I want to know what like the inner workings of it were when something goes to arbitration. Like who was getting hung up on what and where. Like ultimately, we got to a point where we're happy, they're happy. We didn't have to go to the arbitration because all I kept seeing online, and I don't have a whole lot of experience looking into this kind of stuff, but lots of people just saying like nothing good comes out of arbitration. It's just going to be like waiting out the clock for that contract to end and then just GTFO getting out of there to go somewhere else where they're going to be more valued. So I'm glad that we were able to avoid that. 3 years is nice. It's not like a 1 year hit and run. And yeah, hopefully we get lots of Maddie and Schwartzy helping him out if that line sticks together because that was a pretty productive line last year. So feeling real good.
And Matt, if I could just echo something about the room where it happens, um, you know, who is in the room where it all happens is GM JB, Jason Botterill, and I just kind of wanted to take a second to use these two recent contracts as sort of like a springboard, sort of open up a discussion here where we can talk about how GM JB's been doing. I think coming in, most fans seem to write off GM JB as like just more Ron Francis that would not do anything, and I don't think that's been the case so far. I think if you pulled fans on what they would have done with the Burakovsky contract, that GMJB handled that perfectly, dumping the contract for nothing. I think if you pulled fans on who they would want to bring in as a supporting big-bodied forward to add to our toughness and net front presence, that GMJB handled that perfectly, bringing Mason Marchment for a couple of later round draft picks. He also performed amazingly in his first NHL draft with the Kraken, snagging us a potential star in O'Brien and a potential solid defenseman in Fiddler, as well as finally filling out our defensive prospect pool a bit more. And he also got us a new coach who seems to work really well with our current team structure, who Jordan Eberle helped select. He's listening to our captain. He also added Ryan Lindgren, who at his best will provide solid defense to a regressing defense core as of late we've all been complaining about. Now you have a perfectly small contract for a fan favorite in Cartier, who's yet to really show us more with the Kraken, and a perfect bridge deal for a potential star who has yet to show it fully in Kaapo Kakko, avoiding arbitration like we were just talking about. Now, some may say the elephant in the room here, though, is the Grubauer contract. And while that's awful, I think that's more of like a predicament. And I'm not completely opposed to seeing if Gru will bounce back off of like career low stats, which would have a decent chance to happen if he's still an NHL level goalie. And I just wanted to say to like everyone listening, many in the fan base, and rightfully so, you listening, are very upset about the last 2 seasons of just absolutely awful play and pure mid that was pretty boring at times for a litany of reasons. Like we were always talking about how mid everything was, but mainly the fact that we could not get things done, like firing on all cylinders and hit the playoffs like we did in the second season. And I know everyone's heard that a million times, so I'm sorry for bringing it up again. I just wanted to talk about GMJB, and I've also said this before, but it coincides with what Ron Francis said last year. And Alex, I know you're gonna love this, but Ron Francis saying we're only a couple pieces away. And I really feel like with this core, we could genuinely be. I feel like this team feels like a lot more full than it has in the last couple years. And I'm glad he didn't overcommit to a weak free agency pool or sell the entire team. And I think GMJB is just doing a phenomenal job so far. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
So I'm gonna hold my breath until the puck drops for the season. And I know that sounds critical, and I know that could be like, oh, you're a JB hater, blah 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 blah, because I felt like I was personally attacked there. But I know it wasn't.
It's
Maybe a
definitely
bit.
subtweeted to you. Like
Oh, that was some pure
that was not
substitute.
directed at me whatsoever.
I just
Yeah,
wanted
that
an
was
update on how we're feeling.
it,
And we do need to wait for the season, but what he's done so far, how do you feel?
yes, no, and I do like what he's done because like the fact that he was able to offload Burakovsky for literally nothing
Literally
is
nothing.
truly like witchcraft when you really look at it. And
Everyone
yeah,
would have done that. Yeah.
yeah, and like you look at like some of the other deals and whatnot, like the Kartye deal, the Kakko deal. Lindgren is kind of like I have question marks
Yeah.
around that one, and so and the draft was fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong. There's still, from what I've read and from what I've been listening to, there's still a lot of question marks as to what this team is going to look like when preseason starts, because there's been chatter that the Kraken are very active in trade discussions, i.e., players like Olesiak, Father Canner's name's been mentioned multiple times. And so you kind of have to look at this being like, yes, he's done some great things. He's kind of bobbled a few other ones. I know we could debate the Grubauer to the cows come home, but I'm not doing that today because I don't want to, and it's my summer, and I've been having a blessed time not thinking about that.
I would not ask you to do that. No.
Yeah, please don't. But like I think from when he was hired to current, I will say that he's done a good job.
Let's
Like,
go.
and
That's
that's
all I
that's
wanted.
me that's me giving him his flowers. But I'm maintaining the fact that I'm still hesitant, because if he throws a trade out that sends Jared McCann off to greener pastures, and the return's not good, or we get rid of Olesiak where everyone kind of expects it and the return's mediocre at best, then I'll be like, like it could have been better, could have been worse.
Okay, yeah. So this summarizes right now. You
Yeah,
think he's doing a
he's
good
done
job,
good.
but
He's done
he
good, but
he
there's a
could he could
lot.
still mess up. He could still mess up before the
100%.
season
Yeah, if
starts.
he
Okay,
makes a
I
bad
agree.
trade or two, like I could be like, you bum.
Completely agree with you. Shake hands on that.
Deal.
So Alex was definitely the most vocally negative upon his appointment. I went in just blank slate. Let's see what happens with this guy, knowing nothing about him. I think the Burakovsky move is like S plus tier. Marchment and Capo, that's A tier move for sure. And then bringing back um, Kartz and getting Lindgren in, who never know, could be like a Kako situation where it comes into a new spot and suddenly starts doing super awesome. Like that's a B tier thing. We'll see what happens with Riker because he still has to get a spot. But yeah, at this present moment, I'm very happy with GMJ bots. I was at KCI a few weeks ago and I really wanted to like take a little thank you card and slide it under his office door and just say thank you for doing all the things that you're doing, J bots. You're awesome. I want to take a tweet that I saw a couple days ago from at Leave It to Butler. And it says, "Dear Jason Botterill, I'm sorry I doubted you. I hope the Riker signing goes well, and I hope you have an awesome summer break before the next season starts. Yours truly, Leave It to Butler." And I think that's the position that we should all take. He's done really well so far. Only hope good things for him and that good things keep coming. And then if this team starts like falling apart, then we can start getting a little testy and a little angry. Did we sufficiently nitpick J-Bots for you, Derek?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what I wanted. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay,
I feel
so
I was just gonna say, I feel like it's because it's the summertime. I'm very happy because like I'm not stressed or like watching Kraken hockey. So I'm like, yeah, this is fantastic. Like
It's
nothing's
the best time of the
happening.
year.
Couple trades happen, a couple moves and signings. I am what I am. Like, and then as soon as October rolls around, I'm just like back in my like dreaded sadness where I'm like, why am I here? But like, yeah, I'm happy.
Best part of Kraken hockey is when they're not playing. I agree.
Pretty depressing.
All right, so as I said before, on the RFA front, we still have to see what happens with Riker Evans. Now, Riker Evans was in my hometown about a week ago. He came to a little media event, got to go up, shake his hand, get a little picture, a little autograph, and I threw on behalf of BTW our best wishes that a contract comes together soon. So I was really hoping that like the next day there would be an announcement that he signed an extension for X million dollars at X many years, but not no such luck. But we still got time. There's plenty of time that he can get that deal. Like you said before, wasn't it Matty Beniers in like September or late August that he signed his? So still plenty of time. Another big piece of Kraken news that dropped recently is the 2025-26 NHL schedule. The puck drops this season on Thursday, October 9th against the Anaheim Ducks at Climate Pledge Arena. Worthy of note, looking back at the last year, is that we have 3 back-to-back games on the schedule this season. We'll get to our time capsule predictions closer to the start of the season, but perhaps just as a tease, do we have a feeling that we'll be over or under our 76 point total last season? I pointed out those back to backs because, like we talked about in our year end top storylines, we went 0 for 12 on back to back second halves last year. So that's a lot of points off the board. Just one question, one tease, like I said, over or under 76 points this year.
I'm gonna go. I think everyone knows from my off-season predictions last year that I'm just the bleeding optimist of the group. But I'm definitely going over 76. That is an absurdly low number. And I'm also gonna say I think we'll win at least three of those back-to-backs. But I'll elaborate more on the time capsule. But yeah, I definitely think over.
Well, considering I guessed 76 points last season, and we finished the season with 76 points. Call me the Kraken Whisperer. Uh, but to everyone's shock, I'm gonna go over 76 points. But before y'all get excited with that, I'm gonna say 78 points.
I thought you were gonna say 77. Son of a gun. I mean, that's still improvement, I guess. I'm gonna say over. Not gonna give an exact number because I gotta, you know, stir the tea leaves and flip my tarot cards and see what the spirits are saying to me about what it's gonna be. But we will get there, so you can look out for that in probably end of September. We'll do that time capsule again. Yeah, so October 9th, mark your calendars. That's puck drop. Or instead of marking your calendars, follow at BTWSEA on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, because Derek and I have started doing the Kraken player countdown. And we had Berkeley Catton at 77. We had Carson Rieckhoff today when we were recording at 74. So if you need a refresher at the very least of what players or prospects or alum wear what numbers, we got you. We got you covered.
That was real smooth, Matt.
Thank you. I didn't even have that written down. Just off the dome, off the dome.
That's veteran. That's a veteran move right there.
That's kicking off 3.5 weeks of dust and recording right there. All right. The last bit of news to discuss here, as I said at the top, was the very exciting topics of collective bargaining agreements, as the NHL and NHLPA announced on July 6th that a new agreement was signed to start in the 26-27 season. So not taking effect yet. We still got a year before some of these things kick in. I don't want to get into all of the nitty-gritty details of the agreement, but there are a few things that I think are notable. And I want to give a quick shout out to Curtis from Sound of Hockey and Deep Sea Hockey on Twitter for having an awesome article that broke all this down. So I'm going to lay out some things here. You guys let me know how we're feeling about them. First off, The amount of games is going to change starting in 2026, with the regular season will now have 84 games instead of 82. This will allow for a balance in scheduling, with each team getting 2 games against non-conference teams, 3 games against in-conference non-division teams, and 4 games against in-division teams. This change will also remove 2 games from the preseason schedule. How do you feel about that adjustment?
To be brutally honest, I would have been more in favor of like kind of like how the NBA does it with like the play in for the playoffs, opposed to adding extra games to the season. Uh like don't get me wrong, preseason games they had way too many. Like they'd be skating like their fifth or sixth or seventh game in the preseason. You're like, okay, just start the regular season at this point. But 84 games just seems like such a stretch. Like hockey is still one of the most intensive sports in the world. And so when you're attacking on an extra 2 regular season games, it's just added, it's just a lot on the body. So I would have been more in favor of leaving it at 82, but do a play-in round in order for like those last couple teams to try to make it into the playoffs. Thought that might be a little bit fun, but hey, it is what it is. It's 2 extra games that you might be able to go watch the team that you love that you might not have been able to see last year.
Yeah, actually, I really like that plane idea, Alex. I hadn't even thought of that. That's a really good idea. I saw this more as like a way for owners to cash in on the players' behalf at first, so I was pretty like upset with it. But once I saw the preseason games were axed, like Alex said, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm on board with it. I don't love the 84 game season for injury purposes, but I do think that like deeper teams with more like serviceable replacement players. I was thinking like Josh Mahura, maybe like guys like that. Teams that have more guys like that, I think will sort of benefit from this 84 game schedule where you might see teams sort of like try to not like wear and tear like all of their players for the season, especially we're going to talk next with the LTIR thing with the playoffs now. So I think it could be benefited there. And then I also like the way that like the non-conference and the non-division and the division games all kind of like line up. I think that seems like pretty efficient. I like it.
All right, so like Derek said, next thing has to do with LTIR, and those dreaded Vegas Golden Knights may finally be stopped in their nefarious cap manipulating ways as the LTIR loophole is coming to an end. Teams who make the playoffs will now have to have a cap compliant playing roster submitted before they start their first game. I can't wait personally to see Mark Stone have the healthiest season of his career because of this sudden change.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a no-brainer rule and, death to the Golden Knights strategy. Like I love that there will be finally a sense of law and order in the playoffs. Like we just abandoned it for some reason in the NHL. It's like, oh, playoffs, there's no rules. But yeah, it'll get rid of this kind of like super team BS where you get all the guys that like are like you can bring in guys when your guys are on LTIR. It's so dumb. But so it might be a little bit of weaker teams in the playoffs going forward, but I think it's a lot more fair.
No, it makes a lot of sense. The fact that teams are getting away with, having 2 or 3 players that were making like 6 or 7 million a year, but they were injured for the whole season. But lo and behold, the first game of the playoffs, Jimmy's better, and we're gonna activate him. Hey Mark Stone. Yeah, like I just think it finally it trans like the cap compliance. It allows teams, to have to like be smart, not just in the regular season, but then also in the NHL playoffs. So I like it because you started to get sick and tired of it being like, well, X and Y are out. They probably won't be back till the playoffs, and then they're back, and then all of a sudden you have a super team because 3 of the guys that are making bank are back and they're fully fit. So I think it evens the playing fields,
Yeah,
across the league, and I like that.
yeah, the whole reason like the cap exists, like you said, is to make it so that the teams are competitive. And it's like, oh, once we get to the playoffs, which determine who wins the Stanley Cup, we don't care about the teams being competitive. It's like, what? What's going on?
Exactly. Like, well, you can look at like I think the Florida Panthers were still technically under the cap, or they were over the cap. I can't remember, but like, Matty Kachuk was LTIR'd, and then they activated him for the playoffs. Like you're talking like an $8 million player. Boom, he's back. Like that's huge. Like the Kraken don't have someone making $8 million. Like when you put that into perspective, like we can't just be like, oh, we're gonna activate who? Who are we gonna activate? Like we can
I mean,
activate a guy making like 4 million.
maybe we can increase Matty Beniers' pay up to 8 million. You should call up GMJB and see if you can
That's
get it
that's
done.
I
not.
was going to say Chinese Steve's, not Matty B.
Yeah. Hey, we're under the cap still. Like we have tons of cap space somehow. So like I'm happy.
Yeah, we should have mentioned before. I think we're sitting at like six some $1 million in cap space left with just the Riker signing needing to go. So we're
Yep.
Thank you, GMJB.
sitting pretty good, sitting pretty. All right. Speaking of money, and like we had said previously, Tye Kartye, it's always nice when players get a raise. NHL players are going to get a nice pay raise over the next several years. Starting in 2026, the league minimum salary will increase to 850K and then increase by 50,000 every subsequent year. Players signed to multi-year league minimum salaries will scale up with these pay increases from year to year, so that's always good. You're not getting in at 750 and then you're stuck at 750 for 3 years or whatever it might be. Another change is that free agency contracts will be capped at 7 years instead of eight. So there's two little dollars and cents changes there.
So I love that the increase happens in the 50K is going to be subsequent every year. Because like Matt mentioned, Buddy making 750 signs a 2-year contract, hypothetically speaking, cap goes up, he's still making 750. So, hats off the fact that he's going to be making 800K. I wish that was me. I really like the fact that we've knocked out 8 years and then the capping it out at 7. It makes things interesting because you're going to look for a lot of these players that are still looking for that long-term payday that are like, yeah, I'll sign 8 years with this team. If they're currently playing with that team. But I think the 7 years makes it interesting, especially with the cap continually rising. Because I don't think you're going to see a lot of players sign these 7-year deals because of how much the cap's going to be going up in the next 10 years. So I won't be shocked to see like 7 years being like a very shocking contract because like you're not going to see Connor McDavid sign a 7-year deal with Edmonton. Like that's just not going to happen. Like I think you're going to see like the one or two players that are like, no, I love this team. I'm going to sign 7 years. But I think a lot of players, especially with that cap increase, is going to be like, I'm going to sign a 3-year deal. I'm going to sign a 4-year deal. So, getting rid of that 1 year is really not that shocking, and it's not really like the be all to end all. I think it just makes things a little bit more interesting down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I just want to say, like, I'm always in these CBA things. I'm always on the side of the players. Like, the players are who we're watching. The players are who produce the value, not the owners. I'm really glad though that the owners did agree to increase the pay for the league men. The 50K is sick, and I do think that this does show that the NHL as a whole, the players and the owners, are in agreement that the league is going to bring in more revenue going forward. So I'm super hyped about that. More fans coming in, the cap going up. However, the I would raise that the 7 years should actually get bumped down to 6 years, so we don't get Ron Francis, president of hockey operations, whispering in GMJB's ear to go out and sign more 30-year-old guys for 7-year deals. I'd rather give them a 6-year deal.
See, I didn't know before that the cap was 8 years. I think that's something I just learned through this in my ever slowly growing knowledge of hockey. So I'm kind of pissed that Chandler Stevenson didn't get an 8-year deal and he stopped at seven. Like,
So you have to think about this though. The only way that a player can sign an 8-year deal is that if they sign the contract with the team that they currently have the rights to. So if you look at Stevenson, it would have to be with the Golden Knights when he was playing for the Golden Knights, and he would have to sign before July 1st. That's the only way he'd be able to get those 8 years. If he becomes an unrestricted free agent on July 1st, the maximum he can sign is 7 years. So basically, what's going to happen next year, to my knowledge, is that when a player becomes a free agent on July 1st, the max they can sign with a new team is 6 years. 7 years is
Ooh.
with the team that they currently have a contract with, but it becomes voided if they don't sign the contract until if they sign it before July 1st, they can sign 7 years. They sign it after July 1st, it's 6 years.
hmm. Here I was just trying to rage bait people and I ended up learning something. So look at
Bro, you
pulled the
want
old
okay,
Uno
I
reverse
got
card on me.
I got rage baited, so let's do that. You want Chandler Stevenson playing until he's like 45 years old for the
No, I
Kraken, or
just want
what's
people
up?
to get fired up about Chandler Stevenson. It's my favorite thing to watch people get mad about.
Leave your
All
comments
right,
in below what you think about Chandler Stevenson.
Hashtag assist king.
assist king. All right, and then lastly, and in my opinion, most exciting about this new agreement is that starting in 2026, each team will be able to have one 19-year-old prospect play at the AHL level. This is the exact kind of situation we talked about on our last episode with Berkeley Catton, and we talked about earlier on this recording even. Right now, you have to be 20 years old to play in the AHL. It's the same kind of deal that Shane Wright went through in that year that he was stuck playing in the OHL. Berkeley Catton is 19 years old. He can play in the NHL this year, or he can play back with Spokane. There's no in between. However, um, this exciting rule means that in 2026, this could open the door to this year's first round pick, Jake O'Brien, being able to make the jump from the AHL when he turns 19, or make a jump to the AHL when he turns 19. So I think this is a really nice move, especially in Kraken land, where we experienced it once with Shane already. We're probably going to experience it now with Berkeley Catton, and it kind of opens a new door here.
Yeah, this is dope. We could have avoided Shane Wrights of the world playing on 17 different teams. And the rule still prevents hoarding by the AHL, which I like. And it's, there's still the ability for the major junior leagues to maintain most of their squad. And it'll make it so we don't have, the Cattons and the Ferguses of the world, like these guys who should be in the AHL dropping like 200-point seasons in these major junior leagues. So it'll give like the actual major junior players like better competition like amongst themselves. Like you won't have guys that are just like absolute freaks of nature. And I also think it'll be interesting to see how this additional year of like pro hockey translates to development because we haven't really seen it yet. I'm really excited to see the like just like how it translates with like O'Brien for instance. So yeah, that'll be cool.
I absolutely love this. The fact that, you're going to have someone like Jake O'Brien, who's probably going to be knocking at the door within the next year, that could potentially take on a Kraken position, but still at his age probably isn't ready to play in the AHL opposed to another season in the OHL is a home run in every sense of the word. Because what I really see this as is usually the first and second round players normally are too good for, the CHL or for college or whatever you name it. But because of the regulations and the rules, they're being forced back down and they blow the league apart because they're way too good. Where the NHL, they're not there yet. So like that AHL is that perfect place for them. But because of the regulations, they're like, no, you can't do this. This is perfect because, like both of you said before, this would be perfect for Shane Wright. This would be perfect for Berkeley Catton. This is probably going to be perfect for Jake O'Brien as well. Yager Fergus is probably another one. If he had an extra year in the A, you don't know what we'd be talking about right now. So it's great for their development. It could come back and absolutely bite them, depending if, sending 19-year-olds to the AHL might be something that might not work best when you have like those 33-year-old journeymen that are just like, nah, going to show them, a little bit of a couple lessons of gratitude about welcoming them to the AHL. But at the end of the day, I think it's a great starting point for all these young and up and coming talents to really experience professional hockey at a higher level against men, not playing against boys in some in some
Being
form of
20-year-old
word.
playing against a 16-year-old.
Yeah, you got to think about that, right? Like imagine being an overager. You're 20 years old. You're playing against a kid who's 16. Like a lot happens in those 4 years. So like,
And now you're going to be playing against like 35-year-old John Hayden.
yeah, but just gotta
Just
deal with
getting
it.
beat to a pulp.
No, I like it. I think it's a great idea. So can't wait to see John Hayden welcome in Jake O'Brien in a few years.
Well, you make it sound like it's gonna be friendly fire, him kicking his own teammates'
He's the
ass.
Oh, he
bodyguard.
will. He
He's the
will.
bodyguard through and
At
through.
practice.
So he's gonna walk up to a Jake O'Brien and be like, "I'm here for you, bud." And then
Okay,
that's
there we
it.
go. All right, to round things out here, I just have a couple miscellaneous Kraken adjacent-ish news items. First off, there was a tweet, it was maybe about 2 weeks ago from Elliot Friedman that said, apparently there are reports about the future of the NHL draft. There is a vote right now, not yet completed, but from what I'm canvassing, unless there is a wild swing in the few remaining to be submitted, the vote will be to stay with the decentralized format. And there was great rejoice from everyone, yeah?
Absolutely not.
Oh, it's the worst thing in the world.
I'd rather rip my own toenails off than deal with that again. So if this is going to be a normal thing, then good God save us all.
I will say, like, the decentralized draft could be fine if I think you make one change, you take out the GM zoom in interviews and you make that like an NHL.com exclusive. Have them like do the pick, they come up, they take their cheese and photo with Gary Bettman, go back, do the interview with like the ESPN or the Sportsnet person, and then move on to the next person. Taking out that awkward stand and stare at the screen and
Oh yeah, that's
10%
the
of the
worst part.
time it doesn't connect, like you're gonna shave an hour and 45 minutes off the 4.5 hour runtime, and it'll actually be decent. But
Yeah.
um,
You could easily do 2 rounds on the first night if you got rid of all the garbage. Like if you strictly did Gary Bettman or whoever the commissioner is at the time walks up to the stage, or they have someone that like announces the pick comes up, takes a photo, walks off. They just keep going. Like do it like the NFL does it. They don't do anything fancy or anything special. It's basically like, oh, and here's insert name, announces the pick walks out, puts on the jersey, takes a photo, walks off, and it just keeps going. Where the NHL is like, we're going to do an interpretive dance with our GM who's 400,000 miles away while they draw a painting and then flip the painting upside down. And you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, sorry, the teams meeting wasn't connecting either.
Yeah, if it's the
uh,
same as it was this year, I'm just gonna follow my phone or something on like
No, I
Twitter.
won't even do that. I'll just be like, just tell me when the Kraken are picking.
yeah, we can just cross our fingers and hope that it's like a top four pick, and we can be out of there within the first 40 minutes.
Absolutely not.
55, 60, 70 minutes.
Um, I mean, if they are looking for ideas, I saw this tweet from Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff, and it says, if the NHL GMs insist on keeping the draft decentralized, at least put the physical draft somewhere fun next year. Not a theater, not an arena. Let's do it on a cruise ship, or on the moon, or on a cruise ship on the moon. So there's lots of fun options we can have. Instead of taking Roger McQueen and helicopter flying him to Disneyland, let's do it in Disneyland. Let's have okay, here we go. Jerry Bruckheimer again makes our pick, and he makes it on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride,
Okay, that's tough.
right? Right?
Okay, I'll
Sign
flip
the
that though.
check.
I'll
Sign the
flip that
check.
though. Cruise ship on the moon, and I want the audience to be all the 32-year-olds that I send up into space. That's where they go to.
Yeah, but Jerry Bruckheimer has to show up as Davy Jones, like full on makeup and everything.
Yeah. I just like Derek's idea of it being on the moon, and then you just see like Philip Grubauer on his
Horse.
launch to the sun that
Jordan
Alex sent him
Eberle.
on last season. Don't you dare speak things about my captain like that. With the Kraken, we had a couple moves of now former Kraken players with Max Lajoie of the Firebirds and multi-time Kraken. You can't say that about too many people. Multi-time Kraken player Daniel Sprong, both signing deals in the KHL. With this move by Lajoie, the only Firebird still out of a contract is the OG Crackman Luke Henman. So we are almost closing out all of our contract loopholes. And see you later, Daniel Sprong. I guess your tour of NHL teams has come to an end.
I guess he's got to figure out how to say, I'm just too good for this league in Russian.
Yeah, I wonder what the pace of play is going to be like for him in the KHL.
Well, don't you have like 75-year-old Yarmir Yager playing like Russian hockey or something right now? So,
No, it's over in the Czech league.
oh
You
well.
do have guys like that though, similar,
Yeah.
but
You got like 18-year-olds that are just like, like I was born and bred to play this sport. And then you have like 60-year-olds that are like, I'm still here.
And lastly, a little cool prospect note. We have four Kraken prospects participating in the 2025 World Junior Summer Showcase with Berkeley Catton and Jacob Bryan representing Team Canada, Blake Fiddler on Team USA, and Kim Saranen, who was drafted 2 years ago, I want to say, for Team Finland as a goaltender. So best of luck to them. I think that tournament started today when we're recording. I mean, I don't follow the World Junior Summer Showcase very close, but it's always cool to have some Kraken representation on those international stages. And that will do it for this week. We collectively are still partially on summer vacation mode, but if we get some Seattle Kraken or PWHL news coming out, you know we'll be bringing that to you, to your Twitter feeds, to your Instagram feeds, to your podcast feeds. Derek, could you let everyone know where they can find BTW online?
absolutely, Matt. But first, I want to say go read and listen to BTW's own Heather's articles and follow at Heather Nicole and at the Hockey News W to see more of her work. And keep your eyes locked on our social media and your podcast feed to see when Heather shares her PWHL episodes for you to enjoy. Please drop a follow and 5-star review on the podcast app you're listening to this on. And we actually put out a poll on Twitter and we listen to you. We're putting up exactly what you guys want in our store, coming up with new merch ideas, and that will be available on bit.ly/BTW store. And follow us on all socials. We've been putting out a lot of short form content lately on places like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. It helps us out so much if you just take 1 second to like or comment on those videos. And as of the date of recording this, we are only 74 days away from Kraken hockey. So go be a cutie and drop a follow at BTW SEA. Join us everywhere at BTW SEA. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.
We going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.